Shields up, Iron Breakers. Today we're going to be talking about Nioh 3. This title was sent to me by Koei Tecmo so that I could give it a look and tell you guys my opinions on it. We've been live streaming this game quite extensively here in the channel over the last couple of days, so there's well over 25 hours of gameplay or so across a multitude of live streams, so if you're still in doubt as to whether or not this game is for you, you can check out some of that gameplay after you watch this video. However, there's also currently a demo available for Nioh 3 that I would actually recommend you check out, because in case you're playing on PC, then you can test out the hardware requirements and all that stuff, see how the game runs in your system, and at the same time, even if you're playing on PlayStation 5 or whatever, all of the progress that you make in the demo carries over into the final game, which in my opinion is a really good thing, because it lets you get an early look into the game, figure out for yourself whether or not the game is going to be for you, and you're not wasting your time exploring and gathering resources and doing all of the shenanigans you're going to be doing in Nioh 3, because all of that progress ends up carrying over into the final version of the game, which is pretty good. Now, Nioh 3 has actually been quite surprising to me, because a couple of months ago we had a alpha, and that alpha, even though, you know, I played the alpha and I was like, okay, so it's a Nioh game, feels like a Nioh game, it's enjoyable and all of that, but I wasn't like super excited to play it, because, you know, the alpha still lacked a bit of polish, the combat didn't feel quite as fluid as I'd like, and there were a couple of things here and there that had me somewhat hesitant. Well, suffice it to say that after having put in 25 hours, this game is pretty much all I've been thinking about over the last couple of days. I've been completely hooked. I'm constantly thinking about, ooh, I should change this little thing about my build. Maybe I should try out a different weapon, because all I've been doing really is playing hatchets like an absolute lunatic and throwing out bombs in ninja mode. And I need to play more samurai, but I'm constantly thinking about like things that I should change, or different approaches that I should take, or maybe a different solution to a place that I was trying to get to in my last session. Basically, it has that feel-good thing that you usually end up feeling about a game that you're really hooked into, where you're constantly thinking about it when you're not playing it, which to me, that's actually a really good thing. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with the Nioh franchise, I can sum it up fairly quickly by saying that, look, Nioh is a Souls-like in its essence, but it does a lot of things different, both with its combat and its loot system, because it has a loot system more akin to something like a Diablo, where you have all these items that are constantly dropping, and they have like different stats and stuff like that, and then you can kind of like upgrade those and change them around and modify the stats. There's like a deep crafting system into the game. And on top of it, it has a much more complex combat system in the form of like stances, ninjutsu, onmyo, all of these crazy different things that you can really play around and figure out for your build. That's kind of like the essence of Nioh. Now, the previous two Nioh games, Nioh 1 and Nioh 2, the thing about them is that they had this mission structure. So you go into a mission, and then you complete the mission. Once the mission is complete, you go to an overworld map, and then you can select another mission, go through. Nioh 3 is doing things a little bit different. It is doing something which they are calling an open field, which in its essence feels kind of like an open world game. The main reason why they're calling it an open field is because if you really break it down, it feels more like a gigantic Nioh level, which retains a lot of that level design that you see in previous Nioh games, with the exception that it also has like these wide open areas, more akin to an open world game. But once it's kind of hard to explain until you actually jump into the game and you play it for yourself. But once you get going, you're going to understand what I'm saying, because a lot of the stuff, like you'll get into a camp or something and you'll see, I remember this, you can kind of like jump onto the rooftops. Now we can tackle this thing from the rooftops. Now, and there's the traditional shortcut ladder that you'll be able to get to as you advance more through this level. So they've actually managed to retain the essence of what level design felt like in previous Nioh games, while still adapting the game to a more open world structure, which in my opinion is really, really good, because we just recently had another game that tried doing something similar to this, and in my opinion, they kind of failed, because they ended up going a different route. And, I was just checking out like my system settings here, sorry. And things didn't really work out because the exploration didn't feel rewarding. Whereas in Nioh 3, exploration most definitely feels rewarding because whenever I've gone off the beaten path, because, you know, you have your critical path that you're supposed to go through to do your missions and all of that stuff. But every time I've gone off the beaten path, I felt that I've been rewarded either with some samurai locks, which give you more skills for your samurai, or ninja locks, more skills for your ninja, or some other form of upgrade, something that changes a ninjutsu tool, something that changes a specific samurai skill or a ninja skill. It just feels very rewarding to actually go off the beaten path and explore. Now, is it mandatory that you go off the beaten path and explore? No, but you're likely going to want to do it because you're going to be missing out on a lot of skills and on a lot of things that are going to be important for your character build if you don't go off the beaten path and explore. So if you're the type of person that, you know, you jump into a mission and you just want to like go through and do the critical path, this one I feel is going to be a little bit more of a struggle for you to enjoy because the game really does kind of want you to wander out there, explore, and take advantage of all of the systems that they've put into it. And that's kind of like what I've been doing. And for that playstyle, feels great. Now, you guys might be wondering, well, what about over-leveling and stuff like that? Because that was actually one of my concerns, and I did over-level the game during some of my streams. But the thing about Nioh 3 is that they also just allow you to fully respec your character at any point without any penalty. This means you can respec everything from your ninjutsu tree, to your samurai tree, to your weapon trees, to your stats. You can reset anything that you want at any given time and lose absolutely nothing. So what I started doing in the last couple of sessions is I actually de-leveled myself, even though when I did that, I've noticed that the final boss that I ended up fighting was actually quite a struggle. I died quite a few times, but before that, we're doing fairly well. I think this might be an easier Nioh for people to jump into. I often get asked the question, is this like a good Nioh for me to jump into as a first comer or something like that? And personally, I think that it is because it does feel a little bit more accessible because if you go into a path and you feel like, oh, this feels a little bit too hard, you can go to a different path and you can explore more and you can level up more and then you can come back later and you're going to be like, oh, this feels much better now. Whereas the previous two Niohs, it was a little bit harder. You could still farm. You could do like previous missions that you had completed and farm that way. But this one just feels even more built with that in mind if you happen to be struggling. Now, there are still challenging encounters for you to take part in and all of that stuff. But I've always felt like Nioh is one of those games that it's kind of challenging right up until the point where your build comes online. Then your build comes online, you're going to be shredding through everything. So one of the things that I remember from Nioh 2, for instance, is that I used to play hatchets. And in Nioh 2, I've always felt that hatchets were very, very weak. And I was struggling a big portion of the time that I was going through Nioh 2 because of the fact that I was playing hatchets back then. And then eventually when I swapped over to Great Axe, I just pummeled through everything, destroyed every boss. And in this one, I just feel like they've balanced things better, or I don't know, because hatchets feel phenomenal. And I've just been playing ninja. I've barely even played samurai, which is another thing that this game does different from previous Nioh games, is that you have the ninja and the samurai, and they're actually kind of separate. So samurai has all of the traditional experience that you've had in the previous Nioh games. You have your stances, you have your key pulsing, you have all of the usual stuff, right? Whereas ninja focuses more on ninjutsu tools. And the really cool thing that they've done with that is that ninjutsu tools actually recover as you play through a level, which this is always something that I haven't been the biggest fan of the way that a lot of Souls-likes and even the original Souls games tackle magic and all of these types of things, because it's usually like, okay, in between bonfires, you get to cast this thing 5 times, this other thing 4 times, and this other thing 3 times, right? That's usually the way that it goes. And I've never been the biggest fan of that because, you know, you're going through a level for the first time. You're wondering, oh, is this enemy strong enough that it warrants me using this magic, or should I save it for later? And because of the way my brain works, I would always be like, oh, I should save it for later, and then I would never use magic. I'd be playing magic builds and not really using magic proper unless I'm at a boss or something, right? And the fact that ninjutsu tools actually recover by you engaging in combat it means I'm much more liberal about just like, oh yeah, hells yeah, throwing grenades, throwing explosive shurikens, throwing fireballs. I'm shooting all of that stuff out all the friggin' time. And it feels great. It is brutally satisfying to just like be popping those things off nonstop. As a matter of fact, like I said, I haven't even played that much Samurai, which you guys can be like, well, can you just play the whole game as ninja? Yes. Can you just play the whole game as samurai? Yes. Can you play the whole game by swapping between them? Yes. The answer is yes. You can choose whatever play style you want. And I personally find that to be really cool because it just allows you to, experiment with it and figure out what are the things that work for you, what are the things that are more fun for you. And to me, it's just been really, really cool. So in terms of the new systems, in terms of the open field stuff, I personally like it. I think it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea because the map is absolutely massive and there's tons of stuff to do. But I think they've actually done the exploration bit of it really, really well, which the way that it goes is there are different levels to the exploration of the map. So as you are exploring and you're finding out more things, your exploration level rises. And eventually when you get the 4 out of 4, which is not super hard if you're doing proper exploration, when you get the 4 out of 4 levels, they just reveal to you all of the things that are in the map, and then all you have to go do is go there and find those things, the stuff that you're missing. So if you're a completionist, which is something that I like doing, then you're going to be able to find everything eventually. It's just a matter of how much effort do you want to put into it. That's the way that it goes. Now, in terms of the difficulty, I'm still a little bit conflicted as to whether or not the game feels easier or if I've gotten better or if Ninja is really powerful and maybe needs tuning. I don't know. I've heard from people say that Ninja feels easier than playing Samurai, and because Ninja is the one that has hatchets, that's the thing that I've been specializing on. So I've been doing Ninja, ninjutsu tools, and that has just been absolute blast. I've been going through... Rarely do I have to do a boss more than once. It has happened a couple of times, especially with the final boss in Act 1. That's when I really felt like, okay, this boss actually is demanding me to pay attention to stuff like, elemental weaknesses, because the boss uses these 2 elements, and I've been relying a lot on this specific element, and that's not working on this boss, so I have to, change things around. And that felt good because you can then go and you can change your build around a little bit and experiment with it and all of that stuff. But yeah, all of that feels good. The gameplay overall feels good. In my last session, I also played a little bit more with Samurai just to try it out and see how it felt. Samurai also feels fantastic. I was using the Switchglaive, which is a weapon that I hadn't really tried before. And Switchglaive is also a ton of fun. Just absolute blast. Level design feels good. Ninjutsu is fun. I haven't done a whole lot of Onmyo magic. I've seen Cowboy do some of that stuff. Also looks really, really fun. So from a gameplay perspective, this is one of the easiest recommendations of this year, okay? And the best part is, I don't even have to tell you, trust me, bro. I can just tell you, check out the demo. It's available until the 15th of February. Definitely check it out, give it a look, and see for yourself whether or not you like it, or check out the gameplay of the stuff that I've been playing. You can also see for yourself there, because unfortunately the demo is only available until the 15th or the 16th or however long it is. I kind of feel like the demo of this game is probably a super easy selling point because it just removes the barrier of entry. Anybody can check it out and everybody can figure it out. So I would even say they shouldn't remove the demo, but, whatever, marketing, etc., etc. So now let's talk a little bit about the more technical aspects of the game. In terms of visuals, Nioh 3 also feels a little bit dated, which is just something that always ends up happening with Nioh titles. It doesn't look bad, but it does look a little bit dated. It looks much better than the previous 2 Nioh games. They've definitely improved their engine significantly, and it also is able to handle a lot more in terms of open world and all of that stuff. In terms of performance, I haven't really experienced any performance issues with my game, and it's running almost all settings maxed out in native 4K. Now, I do have a 7900 XTX and yada, yada, yada. My hardware is pretty good, but still, native 4K running above 70, 80 frames throughout most of the time. I'm just like, whoa, I didn't realize we were doing native 4K anymore, considering that every friggin' game that's come out over the last couple of years, everything just demands you to have FSR or DLSS to even come close to acceptable performance. And the game is just running fine on my system. I don't know what it's like on, more lower end systems, but again, that's what the demo is there for. Check it out. And I'm actually curious to hear from you guys. If you played the demo, let us know in the comment section down below what the performance has been like. If you're playing on PlayStation 5, also let us know what the performance has been like. But yeah, even though the visuals don't look quite as modern and whatnot, I will still take this over like, oh, let's go for the hyper-realistic route and then force you to have FSR and 100 degrees of frame gen and God knows what. It's like, no, bro. Like, keep it like this, to be honest. In terms of animations, the animations are fantastic. The cinematics also look really good. I've just been like, you can see even the killer, the grapple animation on the hatchets here just looks absolutely phenomenal. In terms of sound, the sound also sounds really good. The voice acting, it's one of those things where the people that really enjoy voice acting in these games are going to end up playing the Japanese version. The English voice acting has some inconsistencies in terms of pronouncing of certain character names, particularly main characters, which does get a little bit weird, like the way that some characters pronounce Ieyasu, and sometimes they say Ieyasa. And that was just something that both me and my chat were all just like, bro, what is going on? This is like a little bit weird. But yeah, there's a couple of inconsistencies in the voice acting there, but I feel like the voice acting itself is fine. I don't really have big issues with it. I play it in English because it makes it easier for people that are watching the content on the second screen to keep up with the story and all of that stuff. But yeah, the character creator on the game is also phenomenal. You have tons of options, and you can even put like a different look to your ninja character and your samurai character if that's something that you want to go and do. And in terms of the story feels like the story that you've had for Nioh before. This time around, it involves a little bit of time travel, which I haven't gotten to the part where all of that gets explained. It's like you have this spirit that's with you, and there's like this massive betrayal that happens early on, and then you get sent back in time. And then after you solve the situation in that era, you get sent to another era in time. So you're kind of like time traveling across multiple eras. I'm assuming that whatever imbalance the spirit stones are causing this time around, it is having ripples through time. And it's our job to kind of like go and fix the ripples through time that are happening to make sure that story retains its original path or something. I don't know. I haven't fully gotten it, but basically, it's been more than enough to keep me hooked for all of the gameplay that we've been doing. Suffice it to say, I'm super addicted. I'm having a blast with it. I do feel like the whole thing with the open world is going to be something that's going to be divisive among the community. Me personally, I ended up liking it, and I'm usually not somebody that likes doing all of this stuff through the open world, but they've done it in a way that it feels like, it is achievable, and it is not something that you're going to be like, oh, I have to dedicate the better part of 2026 just to make sure that I complete every single thing in Nioh 3. No, it doesn't feel like an absolute chore. It just feels like it's something that you naturally want to go and do because you're having fun with the combat. And that's kind of something that I feel a lot of open world games struggle with, is actually motivating players to go through and doing the events that they've set up in their open world, or in this case, the open field. And I've never felt like that in Nioh 3. I'm just doing stuff because it just feels natural. Yeah, I want to go here, and I want to do this event, and I want to go here, and I want to check out this thing. And you can kind of regulate whether or not you overlevel the content by deciding how much you level up your character, because at any point in time, you can respec it. And that's the other thing. The freedom of just respecking your character at will feels absolutely fantastic. I'm sure there's systems that I haven't even touched on that, I will be talking about in future videos. But right now, it's just been an absolute blast. I cannot recommend it enough. And yeah, you guys let me know how you're feeling about Nioh 3, especially if you've played the demo. And that's going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe, bell notification icon, all that jazz, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, peace out.